You're listening to Cooper Talk.
Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guests. And I got to tell you something, people. As you know, I got married a month ago, and when I first started dating Joanne, I called her my girlfriend. And then we got engaged, and of course, I called her my fiance, even though sometimes I forget and call her my girlfriend, which I sort of was happy with because I don't like the word fiance. Maybe because it's 3 syllables, maybe because it's like fiance. I don't know. But now that we're married, it's only been a month, and I sometimes call her my fiance still, out of habit. And the other day, out of habit, I called her my girlfriend. I was buying her shoes. I'm going, and I said to this salesperson, I said, hey, by any chance, do you have a size 6? My girlfriend wears a size 6. And she saw my wedding ring, and she gave me the dirtiest look, like I was the biggest piece of crap in the world. And I just felt awful. So I have to get out of that habit. She's my wife. And if I ever call her wrong on the show, people email me at cooper@coopertalk.net and correct me. Anyway, we have a great show today. We have such a talented individual, great singer. She has a great new album. Well, it's an old album that's new. She has a great single that's just, the video is fun as all hell. She's also an actor. She's been in the great movie Valley Girl. And she's a record company owner. And my guest is Josie Cotton. How you doing, Josie?
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. I want to talk about your career, but first want to talk about the video for Ukrainian Cowboy. It is so fun, and I'm someone who grew up with MTV and that whole generation. What made you make a really fun video? Because people seem not to make fun videos anymore.
Well, when I was writing it, I was visualizing the whole thing in my mind so vividly. It really was real to me, and as I got more finished with the song, I realized it really had to be a video, that there was so much contradiction and fun and kind of political innuendos going on that I really had it in my mind, and I got together with my producer who had worked on See the New Hong Kong for me, and he shared the same vision I did, and that made it really great.
Now, you were someone who did, the video for Johnny, Are You Queer? Now you did this video. What have you noticed about the difference in video making besides the cost? It's probably a lot cheaper to do them now.
Well, my videos were canceled the night before we were filming for my first record, because Elektra Records didn't think there was a future in video, which was insane. Everyone knew it was the future of music at that time, and so I don't really have a lot of experience until much later on. I would say my video for From the Hip was one of the worst videos of the 80s. I would easily contribute that. Wish no one would ever see it, but it's out there with this crazy hairdo I had, and now I think it's a loss. I think it's a real tragedy that art form has diminished, and I think they're like small movies. They should be. I think it's such a wonderful way to make a song come to life for people.
Now, with the song Ukrainian Cowboy, what was your thought process behind when you sat down and wrote it?
Yeah, I've been asked that a few times now. I think it really was just the times we're living in, and I was affected, and am affected as everyone is, by the constant barrage of news from a certain part of the world, and I had a Cowboy song that really was only half written, and the title just came to me when we were trying to figure out a name for the song in the middle of writing it and recording it, and I just off the top of my head said Ukrainian Cowboy, because it just sounded good, but it turns out it was really prophetic in terms of the timeliness of it coming out right now. This crazy period in U.S. history with Ukraine, our connections, insane.
I know, it's great timing. Now, when did you start writing? I know you're from the Texas area, Dallas, I believe. Did you write songs when you were a young woman, or when did you start getting into music?
I really started writing when I was 9 years old, I wrote my first song on the piano. It was called Meow Cat Boogie. One of the greats, unheard. Will never be known or heard, but it was one of the great songs. Yeah, I don't remember how it went, but I played it on the piano, and my cats loved it. So.
Now, was your house a musical household? Were your parents into music, or was it just something you found on your own?
Well, the man I thought was my father from my early childhood till like 9 years old, he was a ballet teacher. He had a studio, and he played music from all around the world. He had a collection, every country, every indigenous tribe in Eastern Europe. It was an amazing collection, and he would play it nonstop, and I would dance to every country, and I was really affected by that. And my mom was, all country western, and I gravitated away from both of them. Really went in a whole different direction musically. But there was music in the house, and it was either Dolly Parton-ish or, Tchaikovsky, Russian fertility dances. It was just extreme. Now,
when you started getting into music, like as you got older, who were some of your influences? Who were you listening to?
Well, I started loving singing when I was in choir. I had a great love for that, part of school. And when I started being influenced in terms of, being a teenager, I would say or my becoming of age, I would say the girl groups had a big influence on me. I contribute some of my singing to some of those gals, Ronettes in particular, Dusty Springfield, even Wanda Jackson, all of those people. I was Karen Carpenter. Was one of the most sublime singers. I think they say her voice would soothe plants more than any other singer when they would do these experiments with different types of music, because it was the most perfectly, her vibrato was so perfect, like an instrument.
Now, so you're in Dallas. When do you get in your first band, and when you join that band, do you think that this would end up being your lifelong career?
I started joining bands that would rehearse and never perform. There were a number of those. It was, okay, we're going to start a band. And then everyone had different musical influences, and it was, we can't do this. And that went on. And then I just started writing songs on my own and making demo tapes and playing them for various people. And, that was kind of how it all started.
Now, what was the music scene like in Dallas at the time? Because I grew up near Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has always had a great music scene. And I know Dallas is probably, I'm not too familiar, was probably a lot more country, like you said, your mom liked. But what was the scene for you, and what scene did you want to get into in Dallas?
Well, there was a big blues scene in Texas, and I didn't want to be in that, and I didn't want to be in country. The very cool music was coming a lot out of Austin, 13th Floor Elevator and Rocky Erickson, and Steve Miller Band was also from that area and that time. I have to say there wasn't anything that was influencing me in Dallas musically, to be honest.
Now,
sorry, Dallas.
Is that why? Yeah, is that why you decided to move to LA? What brought you to LA?
I knew that I wanted to pursue music, and LA was the place. That's where you went if you had a song in your heart and a demo tape on your, tape recorder, and that's exactly what I did. More to be a songwriter. I was still not thinking in terms of being a singer.
Now, did you know anybody in LA when you moved? Because I always think it's funny. I lived in LA for 18 years. I just moved back east. And I didn't really know. I knew a few people, But so they helped me find an apartment, and it's funny because I lived in a place that 15 years ago the rent was $385. Now it's like $1,200. But did you know anybody when you went out there?
I know a couple of people, and that really helps. I went with a girlfriend, so I wasn't lonely face on the street, so to speak. I was surrounded by people. I knew a few. There were 3 or 4, and that's enough to keep you sane, I think.
Now, where did you first live when you first moved out there? I always love to hear people, because it's so different, and people who haven't lived in LA are clueless to different areas. But where was your first apartment?
It's so varied, isn't it? I first went to West Hollywood.
Okay.
I was right in the middle of West Hollywood, and I was told, don't go east of La Cienega. So that turned out to be, erroneous advice, but that was the first little neighborhood, and I loved it. I thought it was very fun. There was a lot of activity at night, and very colorful, lively.
Now, so you're in LA. When do you get your first break? I'm sure, were you working day jobs, or how were you, making money as you were following your dream?
I really was, how do I put this? I was being subsidized by my family.
Okay.
That was really how I was doing it, and I was just really writing and trying to meet people and getting rejected out of various record companies playing my songs, and that's what I was doing until I met my producer in a bank line in Hollywood and Vine. Very Hollywood story.
Yeah, I want to hear that. I want to hear that because that's just funny because of bank line. Because now people like the young kids listening don't even get in bank lines. They go to the ATM. No one has a clue anymore.
Yeah, but at that time you went in the bank line, and it was just a situation where I could feel these eyes penetrating me from behind, and I looked around, and there was this really cute guy, about my age, staring a hole through me, and in this very bizarre smile, and I just looked away. Did not really know exactly how to handle it because it was so intense. He was fixated on me, and then I've told this before, but something told me just to be more friendly in my life and to not be so shy. So I turned around and I smiled back, and then we, started talking about music after we were out of the line, and he was a producer at a studio, and I was a singer, so that was kind of how that worked out.
So you meet him, you go into the studio. Now, did that help you? Because before you had said, you were getting rejections. Did it help you get a little on the quicker path to getting a deal?
Oh, no, he did not want, he did not want me to be a musician at all. He was not happy about the fact when I told him I was a singer and a songwriter. That was not music to his ears. He was very upset about that, actually. So it was a point of argument for us many times. And finally, I convinced him that I was serious. He started teaching me about songwriting because he was really a master of the craft of songwriting, and I was still trying to learn more than I knew, and it became like a teacher-student kind of situation, and then and he wasn't interested in my singing, and it just happened that they had a demo tape that they were doing for their publishing company, Warner Brothers, and it turned out to be Johnny, Are You Queer? And I said, I'll sing that demo, and my boyfriend went, no, you won't. He won't. What? And his brother said, what harm could come of it? It's just a demo tape, and that turns out to be what was signed. That's the record, was the demo tape we made for Warner Brothers.
Now, what was your feeling when you got signed? I mean, you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you've gone through rejection. Were you just elated, or were you also a little bit scared because now you have to put out an album?
Well, we made a situation happen with Bomp where we only did a single with them. They wanted to do a record, and my producers were thinking long term. They wanted to transition into a bigger label, and that sounded fine to me. I didn't know how these things worked, and so we did that, and it was exciting to be on Bomp. And then the song just exploded, and they did just a brilliant marketing, on the song. And I mean, the big thrill. The big thrill, though, was hearing it on the radio for the first time.
Where were you?
I was driving down Pacific Coast Highway.
Okay.
It was sunset. I was looking out at the ocean, and the song came on the radio. I think it was Rodney Bingenheimer was playing it, and that was a euphoric moment. Like, no, just the whole, the sun just got extra beautiful, and that's, I think, every recording artist, every singer, that is a moment you remember when you hear it on the radio. That's something you can't ever lose that moment. All of the other stuff is questionable. It goes in and out of focus and feelings, but that is a very precise, specific memory for me.
I talk to so many musicians who say it's just unbelievable, and they all remember exactly where they were. And it's funny because in LA, a lot of them were driving in their car, and I think that's thanks to Rodney on the Rocks. I mean, I think he was breaking a lot of these bands, so I think that was one of the reasons why people in LA were always hearing him.
That's right, in their cars, of course. I don't know where it would have been in New York, maybe on the street or. I know
there was Walkmans, but you couldn't, you didn't have cassettes back then. So the song blows up, and then now, how did that song end up in Valley Girl, and how did you end up in Valley Girl?
Yeah, the song had already kind of flown to its heights and was falling off the sky, out of the sky a little bit. It had been on a Bomp, and then Elektra kind of killed the record, and so it was already on the decline in terms of its international notoriety. And I was a little surprised when they wanted me for Valley Girl, because I had been already banned in Amsterdam, and and the Catholic Church was going after me, and the televangelists were all up in arms about it, and the gay community in East Coast were not happy with me. The corporate backlash. There was a whole series of events that happened that made me a little bit of a pariah in the music world. It was bold of them to just for the corporate backlash alone. They could have just taken the easy route, but they really wanted that song in the actual school dance. So that's funny in itself. And so we went ahead and did that, of course. Yeah.
Now, what did you sing that song in the movie, or did you sing another song?
No, I think He Could Be the One and Johnny were the two songs I sang.
Now, how did they shoot that? Was it like were you singing it there, or did they dub it in, or how did that work? Because movie making's so different than the musical world.
Oh yeah, we lip sync that, but the filming of it was in this school. I don't know if it was abandoned, but it should have been, because it was leaking. It was so cold. There were no heaters. There was water on the floor. There was one heater between 60 people, and a little floor heater. We were freezing, and I had a mini skirt, and it was absolute like we were in a war in East Berlin or something. It was really uncomfortable for 2 days. There was not really any pleasant moments in it, except it was fun doing that. But off stage, it was like, is this a prison camp? What happens next? Is this a joke?
So the movie, it was a cult hit. I love it. Deborah's been on the show before, and we talked about how what a great movie it was, and just so many people loved it. Did you feel like you got a new crowd? Because you said when you did it, the song was a little bit on decline. You're a little bit of a pariah. Did you get new listeners after the movie?
Well, I'm sure there was a whole new crowd of people who had not heard it because it was banned from the radio also. So that was a certain crowd of people coming of age. A lot of guys were coming of age around that time who were affected by that movie. I thought it was a girls' movie, but it was really a guys' movie. It was young guys trying to find themselves and the choices they make to be a creepy guy or a cool guy, and cool, I mean, and not just wearing cool clothes, but just sensitive and not following the crowd. All of that, all those messages were in that movie. I thought that was very positive, and that was a good message movie, and the music, of course, in it was fantastic. I'm really still very proud to have been in that group of musicians. Now,
after that, you have to make a follow-up album. Did you feel pressure? I mean, because you're going back in the studio, and I know Lindsey Buckingham played on your album, so that says a lot. But what was your feeling going into the studio for that second album?
Doom and terror. It was always a lot of pressure with a giant corporation like that, and they had pulled a hit record for me, so I wasn't real thrilled with being on that label. And then they fired my producers, and they brought in Roy Thomas Baker to finish the record, which was amazing. I mean, he's like an amazing producer, but I did feel like I was being shoveled to the side somewhat, and so that was just kind of traumatic to lose your producers that you came from the very beginning with, and the record company said, choose, you either go with them or you stay on this label. And that was a really hard choice. That was really hard. And they were saying, just stay with the label, we'll be okay. And that was hard.
Now, how did Lindsey Buckingham end up on the album?
Because he was working with Roy in London, and that's where we finished up the record. And he just dropped by, and Roy said, play the guitar, Lindsey. And he did. Very simple.
Now, your third record, I think I'm correct, would have been Everything Is Oh Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I listened to it. I really enjoyed it, and Prescott's on
Thank
it, and
you.
Brian Seltzer's on it, and it's from the '80s, and I'm a huge '80s fan. Why didn't that album come out at the time?
I have a hard time answering that question because it's still confusing for me. But I think the main reason is that I chose to walk away from it, and I'd already been dropped from Elektra when we began recording it, and I was very uncomfortable about going back into the music industry as a product with people who really didn't know much about music and didn't understand me in particular. So people were making suggestions for me to come to certain labels, and I just decided to not take that path, and so I pretty much just closed the door on that and started doing other projects that were not similar at all to what I had done those last three records.
Now, what were some of the projects you got into?
Well, for one thing, I started my own label so I could do whatever I wanted, and that was fantastic. And just out of love of doing it, I did a record of all B-movie theme songs. That was a wonderful experience. That's my happy memories of recording. And John Waters wrote the liner notes. Invasion of the Beat Girls was that one, and then I did a kind of a cabaret, but really dark cowboy someone described it, one of these critics, was my favorite review I ever got. They said it was like finding a severed head in the desert at sundown in a trailer park. And I thought, I love that so much. I have to keep going in that direction. That's the kind of feedback I need and want. And so it was a strange record, and with this wonderful songwriter, producer, Bill Ray, and he had discovered the Del Rubio triplets. He was like a real artist, and it was challenging as a singer and wonderful. And then I just started compiling records with various songs and experimenting, and I did a electronica record, and I got to do everything I wanted to do. The only thing I didn't do was I was wanting to do a kind of a traditional country record for my mom, but I still will do that.
Now, it's so different now, to start a record label because you just put stuff on YouTube or whatever. How did you go about starting a record label?
Well, really badly. This is my third one, and I have to say that a lot of the reason people didn't hear any of these records was because I didn't know what I was doing entirely, and but the thing was just, for me, it was just to get a record out. You can't just make songs and it doesn't feel like anything's happened unless it's a record, or at least it didn't for me. And so I would do a record, and we put it out on these various labels and do a little promo, and they'd get reviewed, and then I'd be on to the next one. So I'm finding out that there's been a lot of monkey business with my music and people selling it illegally, and then some of it never got put into certain venues. And at some point someone said, my publishing company said, you have to take everything down from the internet and start over, and you need to put it on one label, because there's a whole lot of people out there are selling your music. And so I thought, well, we'll just start another one. This would be my third one, Kitten Robot Records, and because we have a recording studio called Kitten Robot, and it was kind of a necessary conduit to get everything out. We're re-releasing everything in 2020. So that feels good, but we'll do it the right way. We actually have a real record person, so that's different.
Well, no, I got to ask you, because you said you had the Invasion of the B-Girls, and you were focusing on different kinds of music. How do you decide what genre, should I say, you're going to do, or does it just pop in your head that you go, this is a kind of album I want to record?
Well, I think right now I'm really interested in concept records, and the Ukrainian Cowboy and Cold War Spy. I did a lot of research, and I loved doing that. I'm a history lover. I study it. I watch so many of these documentaries and about World War I and World War II and the Stasi and all of this, and that's been something I really didn't realize about myself, that I could incorporate this love I have of researching with music and then make it visual into a video. It's very conceptual. I don't know how else to describe it. And I have another record, a concept record. It's called I Want to Die, Don't You. And it's going to be it's a compilation of the sadder, darker songs that I've done, but with new material that I'm just putting together. It's just the exploration of a thought that everyone has had, and it's always an option, and it's probably there are better options, and it just explores that a little bit. So that's going to be the next project.
It's funny you said you're a history buff. I'm trying to become more of a history buff, and I was in my honeymoon in Croatia, and I was in this the Red Museum and then this other fortress, and it's just amazing. Like, they had tapes from even back from 1991 on the Serb-Croatian War, and it's just amazing when you actually immerse yourself into history, how fascinating it is, and how much more entertainment it can be than just like a crappy movie on HBO.
Oh, I know, and they could completely engage students now, if they would just tell the truth about history and go into it in a little more detail, and the amazing spy stories there are alone is in ancient history. My God, the ancient, Samaria and all of that is I think could keep kids engaged in a fantastic way that they're not right now, because it's so boring. History in school is so boring. It's just numbers and dates, and there's nothing fascinating for them.
I know, it's true. I remember in high school it was just like a book, and you're reading a book. At least now, a teacher can make a multimedia experience, and kids would be like, it would be their favorite class.
Yeah, and with music of the time and some of the art, it could just be a whole. And then why it was that things happened, not just in this date on this battle, blah blah blah. Just how boring. I mean, let's just put everyone to sleep.
Now, talking about history, your third album was Everything Is Oh Yeah. Now, what made you decide to release it now, and what was it like looking back at songwriting from over 30 years ago?
Well, it was my publishing company was asked by Stranger Things for songs for their show, which takes place in the mid-'80s, and they were looking for records that had never been released from the '80s, like time warps, and they mentioned that to me, and I remembered that I had this record that I didn't know literally didn't know if it was still in existence, because there were like fires. I was out in an area that had a lot of fires, and there was an earthquake, and there was a landslide, and there was a flood, and then some of the tapes were in my producer's garage, and so we found these tapes. They were unmarked, and it was this record, and we just started listening, and we you bake them, strangely, these 2-inch 24-track tapes, and we were listening, and at first I was like, I'm really not sure about this. It brings back really odd memories for me, and then at one point I just went, yeah, we have to put this out. This is too good. And so and that was it. I really didn't expect the welcoming I've gotten. It's been wonderful. People are kind of thrilled. It's like going back in time for them, and which is a really kind of a wonderful gift, I guess. You kind of relive part of your life that was a very happy memory for you. So that's been wonderful to hear people responding to it. I didn't think there would be any response. Honestly, I just thought, gosh, what point is there to do this? But I just knew it was going to feel good for me to just complete that chapter in my life, because it's always felt so like a story with no ending. It was just always hanging like, ooh, there's that. It just, that happened. And so this feels very good to me. It's full circle.
Now, what's your take on the songs now? Looking back, I mean, and I'm sure it's like anything, things we do through life, our personalities change, whatever change. When you heard those songs, and I just said it, it was a certain, what did you personally think of them? Did you sit there and go, man, these are good stuff?
Well, the songwriting I still thought held up, which was wonderful. The recording, there was no degradation in sound, which was a miracle. And of course, that record, and at that point in music, everything was drum machines, Lynn drum machines. So it was a little disconcerting, and we toyed with the idea of going in with real drums, and but we really wanted to keep it authentic and from that time. So we really didn't mess with the production of the era, because it was a time warp, and we wanted to just keep it like that. And what I guess surprised me the most was my singing had gotten so good at that point. I was such a better singer than when I started off my first record, and I was kind of surprised where I had gone as a singer, actually. That was the big surprise.
Now, Brian Setzer's on the album, and Who he's such an amazing guitarist, and the Stray Cats were so influential, especially to me back in the day.
Amazing singer too.
Yeah. Now, how did that come about for him getting on? And I believe is he on 3 songs?
Yeah, 3 songs. He played guitar on one, and he sang on 2. And that came about because he was very good friends with Larson Payne. Larson ended up producing a record of Brian's, and they wrote songs together. They were very good friends, and he was just in town, and he was dropping by and offered to sing and play on these songs, and we were going, yes, of course, please. And he went out and was pretty amazing how he did 4-part harmony in strange chords, knew exactly what the chords were. One take, just did amazing singing. I was in awe of him, really. It was, wow, that's wild. I mean, how does he know that that's that chord and there's those notes? And it was amazing to see.
Now, what technically, and you can tell me this because you're a musician, what does it mean when people say it's the album's remastered? What does that mean?
Mastering is the most mysterious part of music. No one really knows exactly, except that you're supposed to do it. And there are some people who don't think you have to do it, and they don't. But everyone's superstitious about it. It's kind of like voodoo. People get to the point where they're going, we're not going to have it mastered, and then you get to the moment when you have to put the record out and for real, and then you're going, well, maybe we should just go ahead just in case there's really something there. And sometimes I can hear it sound better, and sometimes it sounds worse, and sometimes I can't tell. Paul Rossler, we did our own mastering at our studio, and then we had it mastered, and it sounded exactly the same. So I don't know. That's a very it's almost like a superstition with people. I just don't totally know if it's a real necessary step, honestly.
Now, you had mentioned Invasion of the B-Girls, and now you're releasing that again in 2020?
Well, we're re-releasing it, and this time in a real manner, not in a in the way that I did. We actually have a new song on there that we had to take off before because John Waters had asked me not to release one of his songs because no one had ever recorded it before, and he wanted to do a compilation of Divine, and so if no one's recorded it, then the songwriter can say, no, you can't, and that's what he said to me, and that's how he ended up writing my liner notes, because he felt so bad. And now other people have started recording it, so the gate is open now, and so that's the new song on there. Female Trouble is one of the B-movies, one of the great songs from bad movies, quote on great and bad, but and so that's different, and it's a new order, and no one heard that record. It's an amazingly unheard record, even though it got a lot of press. I really am excited for the world to get to know this record because the movies were just unbelievable, and the songs were also. And we did it with not one synthesizer. We tried to do exact replications of even the most horrible lyrics. We kept every nuance going, and then improved upon some of them because they were just too horrible. So that is just we're working on Volume 2 right now, and so that'll be really fun.
Now, how do you find the bad songs, and do you have to watch all the bad movies, or does someone go, hey, Josie, there's this awful movie, and there's this awful song, and you got to watch it. How do you find them?
Yeah, well, at the time, there was this amazing store, I'm sure you've heard of it, it was Mondo Video.
Yeah.
And that was my that was my gold mine of bad movies, and I would go there, and they would go, "Have you seen Girl in Gold Boots? It's really terrible." And I go, "No, let me have that one." And that was one of my favorite songs, theme songs, from a movie, and they turned me on to a lot. And then I just started. I watched so many that I would have gotten on my knees if there had been a theme song from some of these movies. Were just unbelievable, and they didn't have a theme song, alas. So it's harder this time because I think I got all the really great ones. If anybody has any songs they want to send me, I'm on Instagram or Facebook because it's a lot harder now without Mondo Video. Honestly, they guided me in many ways. And in order to see every B movie, I don't even know the extent of how many there are. There's thousands of them. I started watching. It's like, how long? You have to watch the whole thing to see if there's actually a song. It was like, oh God, they're so bad. Even I couldn't appreciate them. It's like, let it no, keep going, Josie. There's going to be a song. Wait. It's like, no, I'm in this battle with myself, having to endure some of them, but. I'm sure I'll get the right ones eventually.
What would you say, and it's going to be a hard choice, what to you was the worst movie you've seen? Because you can be a true critic on this because you've seen all the crappy ones. What is to you think your most favorite bad movie and the worst?
My most favorite bad movie. Well, okay, one of my most favorite ones, and it didn't have a theme song, but that's why I named the album after it, and it was Invasion of the Bee Girls, but it was B-E-E, and they were these beautiful female scientists who were actually bees, who killed men during sex for their blood, and that's how they made honey from the blood. I don't know, it's some kind of a, odd plot line, but it was the most amazing story because they were like these really foxy. They looked like nurses, but they were scientists, and so that was like, why couldn't there have been? Why, Josie? Why? Like that was the one. And then there was another one, Alice in Acid Land. That was about this really bad acid trip, and this girl. She falls for her French teacher, and they begin, really seduces all her students, and then gives them acid, and this horrible trip she has. It was so good, and the camera work was. At this point, I don't know the difference in good and bad because some of the bad is so good I can't call it bad, and it starts to blur into something else, but. I don't think they can make movies like that anymore. B movies, they're not bad enough, or something. Something is not workable anymore. It has to have been for me, it's the ones from the 60s and 70s were the highlight of all of that, and then a couple in the 80s. But I had to throw a little Russ Meyer in there too. Although. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill is in the Museum of Modern Art, and it is a work of art. Photographically, it's a crazy plot line, and I discovered a lot of badass women in these movies. That was one of the big surprises. That it was over and over. Even some of the Latin ones. So there was the Aztec mummy versus these Mexican wrestlers, and the Aztec mummy was a female. It was the females were so powerful. It seemed like it was the only place where they were really badass was in these movies. It wasn't happening on the screen or really in life, but in those movies they ruled that world.
Now,
it was so cool.
See, that's awesome. Now, I know you had a show October 5th. Did you play any music? What did you play any music from the album, or what did you play?
Oh, I played a big variety. I definitely played Get Off the Road. She Devils on Wheels was one of my favorite. That's probably one of the worst, but I mean that in a really good way. She Devils on Wheels, and once again, it's women killers, and who kill men. It's a plot line that keeps recurring in these movies. But yeah, I did that one, and I did a little bit from each of the different records. Every single record.
Now, how is it to be back on? Well, I know you did some of the Lost in the '80s tour, right?
I did a little bit of that, and I was supposed to do. We were all primed to do the Totally Festival in Long Beach, I think it was, with just an incredible '80s musicians, and that got canceled the night before. But at that point, we had learned all these '80s songs, which I hadn't played in so long. I really didn't play "He Could Be the One" anymore, or a lot of that music, and so we had learned it all, and I was like, well, let's just keep going, because I'm like falling back in love with this music. It was really fun to go back there, and then I started a couple of the '80s shows, and we're doing a show in December, 2 shows with Missing Persons, just me and Dale.
Now, what's it like on stage for you now? I mean, is there that energy there? I mean, and the crowd, you see, because '80s are so big now, and it's great because I'm an '80s. I'm going to pull out my parachute pants, which I don't have, but I wish I did. What's it like when you're on stage now? Do you have that energy from when you started out, or what's it like?
Well, yeah, it's a rush. It's a rush to go out there, and as the show goes on, I'm getting more energy from the crowd as it goes on. It's a wonderful feeling to have people so happy to see me, and really knowing all my material. I was a little surprised that they knew the new material too, and it was a huge age range. They were very young people in their 20s and all the way up, and but very rock and roll, and it was fantastic. I go into another state of mind on stage, and I guess that's a common thing, and I really am a big ham, I guess, because I loved it.
Now you're re-releasing your records, but are you working on new stuff now? I mean, do you plan to start working? Do you have that spark in music? Do you want to produce new stuff maybe with an '80s tinge, or are you working on new projects right now?
Just on that, I Want to Die, Don't You? Because I decided to go ahead and completely kill my brand forever with that record. But I'm just kidding. I am working on that record, and I really do it song by song right now. I'm so busy doing interviews right now. It's a little crazy, and all these shows coming up. I haven't performed in a while, so it's a lot of work to get everything perfect, and have it be a great show, and production and value, whatnot. So I'm not going in and recording, and I'm not writing every day right now, which makes me sad. I just can't balance everything at the same time. Some people are really good at juggling many balls in the air. I kind of have to fixate on what I'm doing, just a few things. I can't extend myself like I would like to be able to be getting up and writing and then recording and then doing everything else. But right now I'm focused on just getting people to remember me from before.
Now, here's a quick question I want to ask you. Being a performer, who's played for a long time, when you perform live now, does it throw you off that people are always videoing it? Does that scare you as a singer? Because, people can just post that stuff. I hate when I go to a concert and people are videoing, because I'm like, just watch the damn concert. That's why we're here. And it's always some guy standing in front of you who's taller with his arms up. And I saw a girl with an iPad at a concert recording it. What is it like as a musician when you go up on stage? Do you see all those cameras? Because we used to light lighters. Now they have apps with a lighter. But what's it like, your viewpoint?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. I don't think that sometimes the things that they get in post are the best sound and not representative of the energy in the room, and sometimes it sounds pretty god-awful when you hear it. So that's not my favorite moment to listen back and watch. If I can turn the sound off, I'm great with it. Sometimes if I hear it, I mean, the bane of a singer is the monitors, right? If you can't hear yourself, and that's awful when there's sound coming out of your mouth that you don't know what that sound is. You could be like screaming in Japanese and you don't know it because you can't hear yourself. So it's a little queasy feeling when that's going on. I'm thinking about getting those really crazy ear monitors that burrow into your ear where you can hardly get them out. But the monitors situation makes it hard to, to totally have confidence in the sound. In answer to your question, I don't like the cameras. No.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Josie. It was great talking to you. And now, you said you have Instagram. What's your Instagram?
It's Josie Cotton Official.
Okay, and now where else? And I believe you have a Facebook page. That's Josie Cotton Official.
Yeah, Josie Cotton, and then my website, josiecottonmusic.com.
Okay, well,
and that's me.
Well,
I'm there. I'm reachable. I'm very approachable.
Well, people, go follow Josie. Look up her music. Buy her albums. Just listen to her music. Have fun. Enjoy. The new album I really enjoy. I listened to it the other day. And if you like 80s music, because it's from the 80s. It's not someone trying to redo the 80s. It's from the 80s. And if you like Brian Setzer, you got to listen to it. And Prescott Niles is on a song, too. Anyway, people, so check out Josie. Check out my website, CooperTalk.net. I have over 750 episodes up there. You can email me at Cooper at CooperTalk.net, Twitter at CooperTalk.